Hey, Chris.
Hey Dean, how are you?
Episode 170, Chris. We're going to nail it this time. We're finally going to get it right. Okay. So, Chris, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I have a set of hypothetical questions I'm going to put you and Lindsey through.
Yeah, so Chris Arden, I'm a fractional CMO. I work with tech companies in B2B SaaS and typically work with companies in the 5 million to around 20 million range
Mhm.
and help them with go to market.
All right. Here's my first hypothetical. Imagine that it's day one with a brand new client, okay? And it's not like they're 5 minutes from your house. It's not even virtual. You're actually at their office. You remember that? People used to do that. And
Yeah.
so it's day one. You're going to walk in there. What's the nightmare scenario for a fractional CMO walking in on day one? And what's the dream scenario?
All right, I'll start with the dream scenario first.
Optimists, yeah.
Yeah, definitely an optimist. And so I would say dream scenario is we come in and we talk about goals. We may have already talked about goals, but
Mm-hmm.
just if it's a 1 year engagement, it's a longer engagement, we want to have quarterly goals and OKRs that we set. So we
Right.
kind of talk through that. And we also look to unblock the team. Now, if there is an internal team, one of the things I focus on is really just making sure that we have the right people in the right place and the right tools and technology. And so it may be bringing in different tech stack, AI. It may be changing roles and responsibilities of the existing team. Or if there's no team, we might be bringing in contractors or writing job descriptions. So it's really about setting the foundation for success with goals and teams and technology.
All right. Good. Excellent answer. What's the nightmare?
Nightmare scenario is I need X number of leads in 30 days. I need,
Uh-huh.
Lindsey seems to
Who are
feel
you,
right.
Chris? Somebody. Why are you here?
Exactly. And so, having unrealistic expectations, short-term expectations, especially on a longer engagement,
Right.
it's going to take time to build the momentum that we need to drive leads and ultimately revenue for the company. So micromanaging is another just no-go for me. Like I don't work with CEOs that like tend to micromanage. I just kind of
Right.
won't do that at this stage of my career. And so you have to have a vision for what you want to create and you have to be willing to kind of trust the process.
We got a question coming up later about red flags and green flags. I think we're going to be revisiting that. So, hi, Lindsey.
Hi, Dean. How are you?
Okay, then. All right. So, tell folks a little bit about you, and then what's your sort of nightmare and dream scenario walking in on day one?
Sure, absolutely. So, my name is Lindsey Dinneen. I'm a fractional CMO, and I work in two really distinct niches primarily, and they are med tech and then also performing arts.
Mhm.
And it's been an interesting career journey for me, but those are my two paths that have been my happiest. And so, that is where I focus my efforts now in helping small to medium sized businesses primarily with their marketing efforts. So that's a little bit about me. I would say walking in to a dream scenario would be a team that does have one, a basic understanding of what marketing is and how it can fit into the organization. So sometimes part of our job is a little bit of that education, which I'm sure we'll kind of touch back on later in the conversation. But the idea that you already have this understanding of, again, the importance of marketing, how it fits into the organization, and how we can make this all successful together. So
Mhm.
it's that core understanding of where it fits in, and then it's actually being at a place where you are willing to make changes and to take the advice of somebody who's coming in looking at your organization from an outsider's perspective. So having that also kind of self-awareness of, hey, here's where we are. We've gotten ourselves successfully this far, but now we know we need some extra help for the next step. So sort of that awareness is really important too. And then on the flip side, I would say the nightmare scenario is kind of similar to Chris's answer too, in the sense that you've got people who they think that they're ready for the next level, but
Mhm.
sometimes they're actually looking for someone who will just kind of uh, follow instructions, do the nitty gritty work of some basic kind of support from like a marketing administrative perspective. And they're not necessarily at a place where they need that full on marketing strategy and leader.
Mm-hmm.
So also being kind of very self-aware of where they are. And the nightmare situations that I have encountered are when they are not aware of where they are and what they actually need in the organization at this time. So there's a lot of tendency toward micromanaging and holding on really tightly to how things were done in the past, and not necessarily being open to best practices or new ideas for how to grow forward.
All right, Lindsey, so let's talk about a couple of public speaking scenarios. First one, it's still your first day, and you get a message from the CEO. And the CEO says, hey, we were going to do a one-to-one, you and I, welcome day one, but I need to cancel that. But instead, the board's meeting today, so I need you to talk to the board. So you're brought up in that meeting, and they want to know what it is the company or anyone in it should be doing to help make sure they should start doing to make sure that you're successful? Or is there anything the company or someone in it, like the CEO, should stop doing so that you can be successful? What do you say to a board when they want to know what they should start or stop doing?
That's a great question. And I'll give some generic pointers, but of course, this would be something that would be highly individual to the organization we're discussing at the time, because each one is different. But I would say in general, part of it is allow the marketing person to do their job, which
Right.
sounds kind of funny. But when you're bringing in an outside consultant, sometimes you might have previous ideas of what has worked in the past. And then therefore you might be potentially closed off to what could be in the future. So I think a big component is let this person to come in and help you and do their job. They're there because they are passionate about growing your organization with you. They are there on your team. That's the benefit of a fractional. They are there. They're part of that organization to a certain extent. So allow them to do what they need to do. So that's a really big key component. And then I would say, provide the resources around that to support it. So sometimes, again, an organization might think, hey, I'm ready for this leader, but they don't actually have a marketing budget set aside yet for how do we actually implement these ideas. So do we need a new website? Well, they haven't budgeted for that. So that's not even an option right in this quarter or whatever the short-term goals are. Right. So I think also making sure that your foundation is correct and then plan around that to give that person success.
And Chris, when you're talking to the board on day one, you want to tell them what the company and the leadership team should not do or should stop doing, so that the head of marketing can, they can get every last penny of value squeezed out of you in this engagement. What would it be?
Yeah, so very similar to what Lindsey said. I think each company is unique in its sense that they all have kind of a different spin on their industry or what they're focused on. But being a data-driven marketer myself, I would definitely look at what data we have in place and make assessments around what I believe is working and not working based on the analytics and the kind of pipeline and attribution that we can test. And anything that we believe is on the cutting room floor, we should run some experiments and say, okay, we don't think events are working. Okay, so if events aren't working, let's measure it. Let's measure it to the best of our ability with QR codes. Let's make sure we're using lead scanners and we're collecting leads. And then, let's look at the data in Salesforce or HubSpot and see what we're learning from the ROI perspective on events, right? Like, I believe in instincts, but I believe in trust and verify. So, as an instinctual marketer, I'm going to come in with my own assessment of what I think is going to work, and I'm going to be proven wrong in a variety of areas, and that's totally okay. And actually, I like being proven wrong because I learn and I get better as a marketer when I come in with, an assumption and that's proven wrong.
All right. So now let's cycle into the second public speaking scenario. Now you're the speaker on stage. The audience is 250 people in it. They all came out of corporate. They all became fractional CMOs yesterday. Like, they're brand new, straight out of the oven. Okay. Between the two of you, we're going to go through like 3 sort of thoughts that I'll start and then you can finish telling your audience based on your experience. So the first one, Chris, you say, guys, you're all new to this, you're all experienced, but you're all new to this. As far as being a fractional CMO, the thing that's going to shock you the most is what?
All right. So I think this is a fun one. I think many people believe that being a fractional CMO means working less hours and having a flexible schedule and maybe a 3-day a week, work week. And I'm sure some people can pull that off, but that's definitely not the way that I've been doing it. And the reality is, I work a lot of hours and I love it. I really do enjoy what I do. I really enjoy the clients that I work with, the industries that I work in, and the teams that I'm able to build. And so I really enjoy being fractional, but I would say that it's not for everyone, because in addition to working longer hours and being, kind of the bookkeeper, the salesperson, the marketer, you have to do every aspect of running the business. And if you're not comfortable being a salesperson, then being a fractional CMO probably is not for you, because you have to prospect, you have to sell your services, and you don't want to undersell your services. That would be, a detriment. So those are the areas that I think I've learned getting into this in the last few years, have been a little bit of awakening for me.
And Lindsey, how about you? Folks,
Yeah, I think
one thing that's going to shock you is what?
Yeah, I think one thing that would have surprised me, and it did surprise me at the beginning, was how much of your role ends up being that education component. A lot of times clients think that they want that CMO for lead generation,
Right.
but they don't realize that without the foundation to support that, the positioning, the messaging, branding, strategy, data-driven decisions that are influencing all of this, any marketing spend you're making is basically wasted. So you really need to have that educational component of how this whole system works together, reminding people that this is not a quick win, and that marketing is this long play, which we'll probably get into later as well. But the idea being that, part of your role as that fractional CMO is an educational component of how do you fit into the organization? What does the organization need to be successful long-term with marketing and whatnot?
All right. And so the second thing you say to the audience is, many clients just don't understand what?
Yeah. So I think many clients don't understand that marketing isn't a short-term fix. Great marketing takes time. It takes consistency. It's a willingness to learn and fail and try and experiment and be creative in so many different ways. And sometimes the best strategies aren't the flashy, big ones that we hear about or read about. It's the highest ROI might be coming from just actually optimizing your operations behind marketing. It's refining your messages to reach your actual ideal audience and not just kind of be out there. And it's, improving retention before pouring money into paid campaigns. So there's so many more different elements that you want to think about, but overall, it's that marketing is not a quick win necessarily. Sometimes it can be, but a lot of times it is that slow burn that over time produces the results.
And Chris, what would you tell the audience that many clients just don't understand?
Yeah, I would say my focus for my clients where I'm successful is on the partnership between marketing and sales. And, to my, point about leads, you can bring in a lot of leads, but if those leads are not being properly kind of maintained or actioned on by the sales team, and you don't have scoring in place, and you're not no drip or nurture campaigns, this is where it kind of falls apart. And so adding more leads to a broken sales process isn't going to increase revenue. And so I think a lot of clients maybe just focus on one area and say, I just need to really focus on marketing, but you might have a broken sales process as well. And so part of my process as a CMO is to help them through that and to help coach them, to Lindsey's point.
Excuse me, guys. COVID, yay. And who knew? I thought that thing left theaters years ago. Turns out it comes back in limited releases, and I wandered into a show. Well, it is what it is. Okay, and then Chris, they're trying to pull you off stage. You know, the music's coming up. Some intern is like, the speakers, but you want to make sure that this audience understand, this audience of new fractional CMOs, they absolutely understand this. And so you're telling them, and if there's one thing you need to remember when it comes to getting your next client, it's what?
Your network. I think every single fractional CMO that I've interviewed when I was getting started said that majority of their business comes from their existing network. So another area is to make sure you're networking, and that's not just LinkedIn. I mean, that, going through your phone and looking at every name in your phone and remembering people that you've worked with and opening those communication channels, going to events, going to in-person events in your city. Like, I live in Dallas, and so I try to go to Dallas tech events when I can. So those are the things that really help, because it may be a year from now that somebody reaches out to you that you met at an event, and that's how you win another deal.
And Lindsey, before your talk ends, what do they need to know about getting clients?
Yeah, I could not agree more with the tip for networking. Absolutely. Keep those relationships strong no matter where you go. Just in general, that's just good life advice. You never know when you're going to need to call on those resources. But what I would say specifically that is also very useful is to position yourself as an authority before you need the clients, or simultaneously to while you have the clients. Thought leadership, whether through writing or speaking, networking, being on podcasts, going out there and talking about your philosophy, talking about your process, talking about your expertise and your specific niches, things like that. That helps to build your credibility and makes client acquisition a lot easier, because you're able to say, here's a little bit about me, you could read about it here, but here's also some social proof behind, who I am and what I bring to the table. And that also helps build that know, like, and trust, which we talk a lot about in marketing and sales. And so being able for them, the potential clients, to get to know, like, and trust you, even before they've had a conversation with you, can be really valuable, as well as just something to have in your back pocket.
So, Lindsey, let's move into a different hypothetical. Probably it's very real. It's not even hypothetical. It's basically every day. You're talking to prospective clients and other people, and you're networking all the time. Marketing is one of those fields where things sort of become trendy and then fade away, and there are like a set of fundamentals that we forget at our peril, and everyone forgets them from time to time. As you're talking to people about marketing these days, and they want to talk to you about marketing, when they talk to you about marketing, what do you think is overrated that people want to talk about, and what's underrated?
Yeah. So I think, one thing that is overrated is vanity metrics. And I call them that, but basically, likes and follows on your social media platforms and posts are wonderful, and they feel really good, and they're affirming, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them at all. But conversion matters a whole lot more, and shares and interactions and comments and the kinds of things that actually help to boost your content, rather than simply your follower count. Because if you have a huge follower count, but they're not engaged with your content anyway, you're not actually speaking to them, that's not going to ultimately be beneficial for your business as a whole. So I think sometimes we can get caught up in this idea that, we've got to have a certain number of followers or a certain number of likes on each post to be successful. But really, at the end of the day, what we're looking for in terms of success is the actual conversions to sales. So I think being cognizant that if you are niching down and really talking to your ideal audience, that audience can be small but mighty, and they can make a big difference for your business too. They can become your biggest cheerleaders and fans and help spread the word on your behalf as well. So I think that's one of those things that's a little bit overrated that I would say. And then in terms of underrated, I think oftentimes we might go into a situation thinking we would like to speak to everybody in marketing, which I think is also a very common thing too, where we've got this idea that, well, our product or our service, everybody can use it. Everybody could benefit from it. That might very well be true. But the problem is when you're speaking to everybody in your marketing, you're speaking to nobody because it's not clear enough and it's not specific enough for that ideal person of yours to go, hey, that's me. Oh, shoot, that's what I need to solve my problem or to, increase my happiness or whatever, the thing is. So I think that those are two things that I would highlight as being both underrated and overrated. And we can work on those.
And then Chris, how about you? As you're talking, people talk to you about marketing. What's just overrated and what's underrated these days?
Yeah, for overrated, I would say that turning on channels before you have product market fit. This is something I see quite a bit where you are an early stage company and you're trying to double revenue from 5 million, 10 million. And you're like, okay, paid's the answer. We're just going to go and we're going to dump a bunch of money into Google ads and YouTube and Meta and LinkedIn. And then that's going to solve our problem. Well, you have to look at the data and see, what's your conversion rate on your organic traffic today? What's your positioning and messaging? Is it resonating? Have you done the market research? And a lot of companies just want to kind of throw money at the problem and not really solve the product market fit. It's great to put money once you have product market fit because then you're just putting fuel on the fire. Yeah. But that is an area where I see a lot of startups kind of make a mistake.
And so, Chris, as you're talking to prospective clients, right? What's a red flag for a client you're thinking like, no, that's not for me. That might not even be for any fractional CMO. That is a dumpster fire full of grenades. Yeah. And so, what's a red flag and what's a green flag when you're talking to prospects?
Yeah, I think back to the micromanagement that we talked about earlier.
How did we get here?
Yeah, you're right. Just having too many meetings. One of the values of a fractional CMO is that they can kind of be disconnected from the company and work and get deep work done and put together really productive information and then come back and coach the team or roll out a new playbook or, have those sessions. And if you're constantly in meetings, 2-3 hours a day with your clients, you're not able to disconnect and get that deep work done and really be productive. And I look at my role as an accelerant. Like I should be able to come into an organization and 2x, 3x production of the existing team. And I can do that through process and technology and with AI and playbooks that I've used at other companies. So that's a red flag. Too much micromanagement, too many meetings, too much red tape in general, not allowing the fractional CMO to work the way that they are successful. The green flag for me, and this is probably unique to me, I don't know if other fractional CMOs are like this, but I find that when I work with a CEO that is a technical CEO, that it just unlocks everything for me.
Right.
And, if there's a lot of great CEOs with sales backgrounds and operations backgrounds, but for me personally, when I have someone who's an engineer or a product kind of expert, that's when we work really well together.
All right. Excellent. And then Lindsey, how about you? What's a red flag and a green flag when you're talking to a prospective client?
Yeah, I think a red flag is definitely unrealistic expectations. Then usually that has to do with the lack of understanding of how marketing can and should fit into an organization. So again, those really quick wins that they're trying to go for necessarily that aren't actually even good leads. They might not even be qualified leads. So I think, those sometimes we really need to, in general, you have to make sure you're in alignment with expectations. That's my number one piece of advice just for anyone, fractional CMOs included, but that alignment of expectations is really important. And if you find that you are not, then that is definitely a no-go. Don't try. It won't work in the end. And then a green flag would be, honestly, part of that flip side of that is that the leadership does understand the value of marketing inherently. You are not trying to convince them, hey, you have to have marketing, otherwise X, Y, and Z. If you're trying to convince an organization that you are the right person, well, maybe not the right person, but that marketing is right for them, then that's clearly something that also, is not a great thing. So I think when the green flag on that flip side then is the leadership understands the critical importance of marketing for an organization, and they also understand that it is a long-term play, that this is likely not a very short-term quick win. This is going to be something that's going to be simmering on the back burner. It's going to keep that fire going, and it's going to produce results, but it'll take some time too.
All right. Final scenario. You were both at the same meeting, huge conference table, like 40 people in this meeting. Everyone is shuffled out. It's multiple companies are represented, so you're not working at the same company, but everyone else is shuffled out. You two are the only two left in the conference room. You turn to, we'll start with Lindsey on this one. You turn to Chris and you say, Chris, while I've got you here, let me ask you something.
Oh, I love that. So while I've got you here, what is the biggest marketing myth you've seen companies fall for?
Well, that's a good one. Oh,
That is a good one.
Biggest marketing myth. All PR is good PR. I think Nike learned that one with Tiger Woods long time ago. But I think in general, like on a serious note, I think it kind of goes back to the one that I brought up earlier, which was on the paid channels, which I run a lot of paid with my clients, but without the product market fit, you can't just throw more money at a product that maybe isn't solving, an issue. This is one of the most challenging conversations to have with the CEO is, to call their baby ugly and tell them that their product's not ready or the market is not interested in the product in its current, state. And so that's always a challenge. And that's something that I'm learning and I'm getting, better at over time, but it's still not perfect.
And then Chris, you look at Lindsey and you think, hey, since I got you here, let me ask you.
Yeah. My question would be around balance, because what I found with some of my clients is they want all of my time. And if I have more than one or two or three, then they're all kind of fighting. And it's like, so how do you create an environment that is productive but fair to you as an individual and to the client? Like, how do you create that balance?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think it's something that, over time, iterations of balance will continue to change and what that looks like in your life. But I would say a big thing is having strong boundaries. Make sure you stick with your boundaries. You have a contract for a reason. This outlines, again, that establishing expectations from the start is the key to success, I would say, in business in general, but especially when you're in that sort of client and expert relationship like you are. So making sure that from the beginning, those expectations are outlined, and therefore you have already established that expectation of boundaries. And so, you are available for whatever you agree on, X number of hours per week. Sometimes that might look even so specifically to the point of you would have blocked off, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is for this one client who's your largest one, say, Tuesdays for a second client, Thursdays for a third, or however you want to structure it. Or maybe you do half days if somebody actually needs a touch point once a day. There's lots of different ways to structure calendars, but I think being very clear about the boundaries and making sure that, you are getting paid for the work that you do. And then, of course, making sure that you allot specific time to different clients is really helpful in terms of being able to even mentally shift out of one client mode to the next client mode to the next. So I think the balance for me anyway has shifted a lot depending on the season. And I've had the seasons where, again, there's this one client who needs me, to check in once a day for various reasons. So, okay, so then I'm going to allot at least an hour a day for this person versus the other one's like, let's touch base once a week. And at that point, we'll discuss all the deliverables from the week. So there's so much to it, but I do think boundaries is key.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So Guys, this has been fantastic. Like, this was a lot of fun. Okay, so as we like wind down and we sort of cycle out of here, go back to our work days. Lindsey, who should be reaching out to you these days, and how should they contact you?
Yeah, well, I work a lot with, like I said, small to medium sized businesses, specifically in medtech and then the performing arts, but also in general. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I have grown and scaled multiple businesses and launched a few myself, and so if I have anybody who's looking in that earlier stage too, who's like, I need support right from the start, I'm happy to help you with that as well. But you can reach me at my email address, which is Lindsey at onpointbusinessconsulting.com. You'll see that point has that E at the end because that's a little nod back to my ballerina upbringing too.
All right. And Chris, how about you? Who should contact you these days, and what's the best way?
Yeah, so I work closely with CEOs, also CROs as well, in various B2B SaaS organizations primarily. And the best way to contact me would probably just be on LinkedIn. So it's pretty simple. It's LinkedIn /Chris.Arden.
All right. Guys, thank you both for being here. This has been fantastic. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time or in another clip. Bye.